Good morning, I'm Carolyn Tanaka and welcome to Live at the Ledge. Every week we will be talking with members of the House of the Representatives to find out what's been going on, what are some of the issues, and what legislation is moving through the state capitol. Tomorrow morning at 10:30, there will be a public hearing on House Bill 2739. It's the Medical Aid in Dying bill, a bill that has attracted quite a lot of attention. With us this morning is the introducer of the bill, Representative Della Al-Biladi. Good morning, Representative.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today.
Representative Biladi is also the introducer of the bill, which we are calling Our Care, Our Choice Act, and she is well versed on the issue. Representative Biladi also served as the chair of the Health Committee last session. Tell us a little bit about this bill, and this is not the first rodeo for this medical aid in dying legislation.
Here in the state, we've been considering aid in dying for a number of years, for several decades. We have had a blue ribbon panel that looked at this issue. We have had a number of bills run through the House and Senate. And last year, with this new legislature, many new members in this legislature every year, we had the bill from the Senate come over, and in the Health Committee, we took a deeper dive into it, and we decided at that time to defer the bill. A couple of changed circumstances from last year. We now have a few more states that have a year under their belt with the experience of aid in dying in their states, notably California and Colorado. So we've learned a lot about some of the amendments to the law that they've added since the bill was first passed by Oregon, again, several decades ago. I think for members of the House, it was really concerns about safeguards and reporting. So those were the things that we were looking at over the interim. And Our Care and Our Choice developed through the interim with members looking more closely at the issue. We also now have a different circumstance with a combined Health and Human Services committee and a new chair, as well as a new member on the committee. So this is a good time for us to reconsider a bill and hopefully, again, conduct a rigorous hearing process and see what we can come up with.
Let's talk a little bit about the safeguards, because that seems to be very important in putting this legislation together. So can you get a little bit more specific on what safeguards we're looking at?
So there's a number of safeguards. First, the presence of an attending and a consulting physician, healthcare provider. There's also in the California law that wasn't present in last year's law, a 48-hour attestation period before the use of the self-administration of the medication. We're also looking at the function of the counseling referral within the process. We don't want individuals to simply be using this because of a sense of obligation or duty or because they're depressed, because there's other treatments that can handle those things. So we want individuals to be able to have an opportunity to talk this through so that it's truly an informed decision. People ask, why are we taking so long to this? I think life and death are important questions. This is not something that can be undone once we allow this to happen. So I think we all as a community have to be very comfortable with the safeguards that are in place.
And you are comfortable that this bill strikes a good balance then?
I think we're getting there. I think we're still in the hearing process, and so I think we need to listen carefully to what concerns might emerge. Last year within the community, there were some doctors who were coming forward, but they were expressing some concerns. What we see in other states is that doctors, physicians, healthcare providers are divided, and they continue to be divided. Here in our case, the Hawaii Medical Association has decided to go neutral, which is the organization for doctors. They speak for doctors. In states where the bill has passed, we are seeing the medical associations associations taking a more neutral position. But that doesn't mean we still can't listen to those concerns that are emerging.
So tomorrow morning in the auditorium here at the Capitol at 10:30, there will be a public hearing before the Judiciary and Human Services Committees. Do you anticipate a big turnout? What do you expect?
I think we are anticipating a big turnout, and only one bill is scheduled on the hearing notice, so we want to devote the time to it.
What is the likelihood of something happening this session in both the House and the Senate?
I think a lot of due diligence has been done by both the Senate and the House. So I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic that we can come to some agreement. I really do applaud the Senate for doing what they did in passing us a bill. I think we needed to, for our members, for who many of this was the first time considering this legislation, we needed to take the time to really look at it. And so, I applaud the Senate. I think we're all closer to it. I do think that there are more people who are willing and accepting and want this as their choice. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll see what happens, but we still are early in the legislative process.
Where do you expect to get the most pushback on this bill?
I think there's always religious concerns, and so I appreciate those concerns because many of our religious are actually with people at their end of life, and so they work in that field professionally. They counsel people spiritually. I think we have to listen to those concerns, but I think at the end of the day, as we say, it's our choice, our care.
It is, as I said earlier, it is a big issue. It is an issue that can be very divisive. But it is, as you say, you believe this is the time, the moment to tackle it.
Yes, and we have the leadership, I think, in the House. We have the leadership with the chairs who are willing to put this up for hearing, willing to listen to the community, and then willing to look at what the amendments could be. Again, we're still early in the process, but I think this is the time.
Well, I'd like to continue talking about this subject, but then there's one other thing that has been on top of mind with a lot of our citizens, and that's emergency preparedness.
Yes.
All brought about by the false missile alert. And tonight, you will be holding a workshop?
I'll be holding a workshop in my community at Marino School with representatives from HIEMA, Red Cross, as well as from the University of Hawaii Coastal Mitigation Specialists. It's really an opportunity. What we learned was that a lot of individuals don't know what to do. So this is an opportunity for individuals to learn what they need to do to prepare for a range of emergencies, hurricanes, tsunamis, and yes, in this day and age, an ICBM missile threat.
And where and what time will it be tonight?
Marino High School, 1402 Punahou Street at 6 p.m. We want to welcome people. I will also say that my colleagues, both in the House and the Senate, are hosting these types of workshops. So, check in with your representative, check in with your senator. These types of workshops are going to be rolling out, I believe, in the next couple of months. And it's really important. We need to get into every community to talk about how individuals and how families and businesses can be prepared.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And that is tonight at Marino School, which is the alma mater, by the way, of Representative Belatti.
Yes, 6 p.m.
I don't know the name.
Go Spartans.
Go Spartans. Sorry, Spartans. Go Spartans. And tomorrow morning, don't forget, public hearing on House Bill 2739, State Capitol Auditorium, 10:30. See you then, and see you next week.
Live at the Legislature is a live half-hour weekly news program that focuses on the issues, legislation, and topics of importance emerging from this year's legislative session. Each week, state senators and representatives provide a variety of perspectives on the issues from both sides of the aisle. Tune in to Live at the Legislature weekly to get exclusive updates on what's happening in Hawaii's legislature.
Do you know your legislators? Visit capitol.hawaii.gov and enter your street name to find detailed information about your representatives and senators. From your district number to the committees and current bills your legislators have introduced, this is an easy way to stay up to date with what is happening in your community. If you're looking for detailed information concerning Hawaii State Senate and House hearings, please visit olelo.org/gov-archives. Videos are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top of the list.
Are you looking for an easy way to get involved in the legislative process? Stop by the Public Access Room located in Room 401 at the Hawaii State Capitol. Open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. in session. The Public Access Room provides citizens of Hawaii's facilities, services, and equipment to enhance their ability to participate in the legislative process. The public is welcome to track and affect legislation pending before the Hawaii State Legislature.
Aloha and welcome to Live at the Legislature. I'm Jill Kuramoto, and every week we sit down with Hawaii senators to talk about the events and issues that are happening here at the Capitol. And today we are joined by Senator Bryan Taniguchi. Senator Taniguchi represents District 11, which encompasses Manoa to Makiki to Punchbowl. Senator Taniguchi is also the chair of the Judiciary. And welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Now I know that your committee has been dealing with a number of important issues this session, everything from courts to child care to gun safety. Let's talk briefly about some of the big issue bills that are moving through the session right now.
Okay. Well, I think what comes to mind is, well, two bills. One is, I guess, the issue is medical assistance in dying. And so last year the Senate passed over a bill to the House. And I believe the House is having a hearing tomorrow for their bill on that. So I guess we would have preferred that the House deal with the Senate bill that was already in the House, but they've introduced a new bill, and they'll be hearing it tomorrow. And I think it has, hopefully, we'll be able to revisit some of the issues that are tied with this issue, and maybe be able to take a look at what the House is able to pass over.
Okay. And then there's another bill you were talking about, the Warner bill.
Yes. This is a bill that's been advocated by the family of Kalana Warner. He was a 19-year-old who was, I guess, killed in front of his house on the road, on the highway. Well, I guess he was hit by a woman who apparently had been out drinking, and
she fled the scene.
She fled the scene, and so I guess there's some concern. Well, the family's very heartbroken about it. We had a very intense hearing. I also had a very intense meeting with them when we discussed the bill. And so we'd like to see something done in terms of people leaving the scene of the crime, maybe enhancing penalties or increasing the penalties. But we'll take a look. We've been taking a look at it, and the Senate bill is in motion. I believe the House is also taking up the issue, and hopefully we'll send something over also.
Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's talk a little bit about child welfare, and I know that this is a very startling statistic. In the U.S., 1 in every 5 girls, 1 in every 20 boys are victims of sexual abuse, and in 60 to 80% of the cases, they don't report this abuse for sometimes decades later. Senate Bill 2719 aims to support these victims of sexual abuse. How is it doing that?
Well, what it does, I guess, maybe going back a little bit, we had, I guess, this bill deals with the statute of limitations, where people can bring claims. There's no limitations on criminal offenses, but this is for civil actions. And so when there are a lot of concern about what had happened with the Catholic Church a couple years back, we had extended the statute of limitations. That has expired. And now with, I guess, the allegations coming out about commitment schools and a particular doctor that was involved, we felt that we had to kind of reopen it for these people also, kind of in fairness, because the issues are the same, are very similar.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Mm-hmm. That's still moving through. Mm-hmm. And then let's talk about gun safety. I know we've heard a lot about bump stocks lately. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who may not be familiar with what they are, they're trigger modification devices that were allegedly used in the Las Vegas shootings. And I know that your committee is looking at a measure that would prohibit these types of modification devices in Hawaii. Opposition to the bill says it's overreaching. However, it's still moving forward. Tell us why.
Well, I think there's a national concern about guns, and I think especially with regard to in the school, shootings in the schools and things. And so I think Hawaii has relatively strict gun control laws, and so we don't really need to do too much. But this bump stock issue has come up, and I think it's one of the ways we think we can help address the national issue about gun control. And we do know that the House changed some of the language in the bill, so we're going to take a look at that. We have a hearing, I believe tomorrow. Wow. So we'll take a look at that and maybe make similar type changes so that we can. There's some concern that we'd be taking away a lot of people's guns and things. But
right. A lot
there's
of
always that kind of Second Amendment concerns, but I think we will take a look at doing something that we think would be fair for everybody, and that will prevent these kinds of, hopefully help prevent some of these tragedies from happening.
Right. Luckily, Hawaii is a very safe state when it comes to guns, gun control. All right. Well, on a much lighter note, there is an event that is coming up here at the Capitol, which you chair. Art of the Capitol is April 6th, and it's free, open to the public, and it's a wonderful event showcasing the beautiful artwork of the local artists here in Hawaii that are installed in the offices at the Capitol. And we are now in our 10th year of Art at the Capitol. And this year I know that there is something very, very unique that's going to be happening. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we every year with Art at the Capitol, we try to highlight some aspect of art at in the building. So we've done the tapestries, we've done the light fixtures, we've done the mosaic, and we've done a lot of the different things. But this year we're going to do something a little bit different. We're actually bringing in an art exhibit, which is, I guess it's called participatory public art. And so what it is will be a large wall with, I guess, before I die, I want to stencil many of them along on this wall. And there'll be some blank spaces where people can write in, can fill it in. And it's a kind of a public participatory thing, and we want people to check it out and think about stuff. And so hopefully that'll be something a little bit different. We're not highlighting something that's fixed here, but it's something that we're bringing in that will be here at the Capitol.
And it's encouraging people to share their perspectives, their voices, which is basically the theme this year, right? Share your voices.
Yeah.
And again, it's free. It's part of Art at the Capitol. Sorry, First Friday.
It's on First Friday in April. So this is a project that was started by a lady in New Orleans, and so her name is Candy Chang, and there's hundreds of these walls throughout the country and internationally, and so we're very happy to be part of that, and we're going to do a Before I Die wall here at the Capitol, and so we would like people to come. It'll be up the week before, before Art at the Capitol, the week of Art at the Capitol, so people can participate and hopefully we kind of get them thinking about things, and especially in light of our civil defense. So I think a lot of people, in January, a lot of people started thinking about that too, right? About what you want to do. So it's kind of, I think it's timely.
Very timely. All right, Senator, thank you so much. Right. And you can also check out our Facebook page, Art at the Capitol, to find out more information. Thank you for watching Live at the Legislature. We'll see you next week.
Live at the Legislature is a live half-hour weekly news program that focuses on the issues, legislation, and topics of importance emerging from this year's legislative session. Each week, state senators and representatives provide a variety of perspectives on the issues from both sides of the aisle. Tune in to Live at the Legislature Weekly to get exclusive updates on what's happening in Hawaii's legislature.
Are you looking for an easy way to get involved in the legislative process? stop by the public access room located in room 401 at the Hawaii State Capitol. Open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. in session. The public access room provides citizens of Hawaii's facilities, services, and equipment to enhance their ability to participate in the legislative process. The public is welcome to track and affect legislation pending before the Hawaii State Legislature.
Do you know your legislators? Visit capitol.hawaii.gov and enter your street name to find detailed information about your representatives and senators. From your district number to the committees and current bills your legislators have introduced, this is an easy way to stay up to date with what is happening in your community. If you're looking for detailed information concerning Hawaii State Senate and House hearings, please visit olelo.org/gov-archives. Videos are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top of the list.
Good morning, America. Thank you so much for being here at Live at the Legislature at the Hawaii State Capitol. I am Crystal Lakana-Pang, here with District 43 Representative, as well as House Minority Leader, Andrea Tupola. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You look fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Okay, so right now there's a very controversial bill on the table right now with assisted suicide. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, last year, we had heard this bill, and unanimously the committee decided that the bill was not ready for prime time. Some of the concerns they had was that, one, they were listing the cause of death as the terminal illness as opposed to lethal overdose, which actually, to put that on a death certificate would be fraudulent, and the Attorney General had testified against that part of the bill. Secondly, there was no specification of where you could do this overdose of medication to alleviate your pain, which that would be problematic, making it where anybody could take this overdose in a public place. There was also some unsureness, or I guess lack of clarity in how much it would take to overdose so that you could kill yourself. I mean, people were basically asking the question, how many pills or how much pain? And especially because everyone has different tolerance levels, what happens if you're in excruciating pain, you take this overdose and it puts you into more pain but doesn't kill you? So it was a very delicate conversation. We had a robust discussion on both sides, and that bill was deferred because of a lot of problems.
So you feel that this bill is not ready this year to be passed?
Well, there's currently some of those things have been put into play, but the bigger picture I think right now is that across the nation, we're handling some really big issues. One is the Florida shooting. We're talking about a whole bunch of people being very scared for their lives and wondering, if the government, federal or state government, is doing enough to protect us. Secondly, we're dealing with a huge opioid crisis. So people are talking about overdoses and how in society today, there's so much ease in getting some of those prescription drugs and overdosing on them that we need to curb the amount of excess that we're given to people. And so I think those two things are at the forefront of my mind when we talk about assisted suicide. Is this the right year for us to do that? When we have a lot of people that are fearing for their lives, and we have some big conversations about mental health, and are we doing enough for the mental state of our young ones, for our adults, and for our elderly?
For the mental health, apparently the shooter, he was on medication prior to the shooting?
That's what they're discovering right now is, how is his mental stability and what was done prior to the shooting? Was he off of his medication for X amount of days? And the reason why I bring that up is because this mental health conversation is not unfamiliar to us. We've had this conversation in regards to homelessness. We've had this conversation in regards to suicides. And so we're trying to get our population more mentally stable. And so that's why I'm asking this question, if that bill, if it's the right time right now when we really should be facing and handling the bigger crisis at hand right now, which is overdoses and our mental health of our population.
So you feel that there should be more money put into mental health? Because back in 2009, I believe that they had cut back on mental health services.
Yeah, so we hit a recession, 2008, 2009. I don't know if people remember this, but that was when Governor Lingo had said, okay, we're having this crisis, we have a homeless epidemic, but also at the same time, we had to cut back on a lot of our services because we had a huge decline in the amount of revenue coming into the state. So they said, okay, well, this is how we're gonna cut back on these things. But that amount of money for mental health care was never put back. And there are so many things within our Medicaid medical system that we need to start to put back to where it was. Did you know that also in 2009, they cut all the dental benefits for Medicaid patients, and that still hasn't been reinstated till today, which is making our state out of federal compliance because every state puts forward money for their Medicaid for dental, and then the federal government matches that. And so that 2009 recession that you speak of, that's really where we saw this huge decline in services. At the same time, this rise in the homeless epidemic, but yet we're out of the recession. Now, how can we start to put money back into some of these causes that we see are surfacing in our society today?
So with mental health, we're not just thinking of people who really need it. We also think of elderly. The elderly, as they get older, their services are getting cut back too with.
Well, we've had this conversation in the Health Committee about us making sure to take care of our kupuna. We have the Kupuna Affordable Care Act. We have a huge amount of people that advocate for end-of-life care. So in our state, as you know, a lot of us take care of our kupuna. A lot of us have grandma and grandpas, aunties and uncles living with us in our homes. And our state has historically been at the front of making sure that we have a robust kupuna care system. And so that's the fear that people have as we approach this assisted suicide bill is, in some states, people have seen the insurance providers opt to give them assisted suicide treatment as opposed to cancer treatment or end-of-life treatment because it's cheaper. And I don't want to shortchange our population. I don't want to shortchange our kupuna. I want to make sure that we're putting robust care into our mental health, into our kupuna care and our elderly care. And so I think we need to make sure that as we see these issues, swirl around in a year that actually just started, but it has been a turbulent start.
Yeah, so mental health too, that also relates to a lot of the homelessness. You like to relate to them as houseless. You have direct ties with the village at Pu'uhonua o Waianae. What is the situation with some of the villagers there?
Well, yesterday we had a open house, and at the open house we were able to actually take community members in. Even people who weren't from Waianae came out. There was a guy from Hawaii Kai that came out to kind of, sniff out what's going on, and he was actually very shocked at how much rules, regulations, cleanliness, order, there's a donation tent, there's a community board. So what I'm seeing and what people are starting to realize is that we might be developing the very first ever outdoor shelter situation because people are starting to feel safer outdoors, but it's not because they're outdoors or indoors. You have to remember safety and the word community is built in when you have a leader, trust, and rules and order. And that can happen anywhere.
Because Waianae, they have a leader. Then it seems like they have their stuff together. They have a food center here, a donation center here. There was a recent stabbing at a shelter.
And that shelter was in my district. See, this is what I have to balance every single day, is that people want to see homeless people get into shelters. We had a stabbing last week at Kalailoa Shelter, and one of the statements that was made from the sister of the victim was, I felt safer on the street, on the beach, than I do in this place. And I'm not saying that that's the case for all shelters. What I'm saying is that we need to start looking at some different solutions. Because if there is, in fact, a leader that's giving rules and building this sense of community in an outdoor situation, granted, we need to find them a more sustainable place because there's not enough water, sewage, bathrooms for that quantity of people. Yes, we need to move them into a more sustainable place, but the concept of it with the leader and making sure that there's order and organization, that's what we're seeing.
It seems like all of these issues stem back to the root of mental health issues.
Right. And I think that that's where we should be more proactive. Right now, the government's being very reactive. We're making sure that we tighten up our gun laws, which thank goodness in Hawaii we have some really strong gun laws. But if we want to be proactive instead of reactive, we need to start thinking about our mental health.
Okay, so tomorrow is the hearing for assisted suicide. Are people
10:30 a.m. Yes.
Okay, 10:30 a.m. here at the State Capitol.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We thank you for being here live at the legislature. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but we'll be back again next week with Representative Andrew Topola. I'm Crystal Lakana Pang. We will see you next time.
Aloha.